You know, there you go. I think we're on. Yes, we are. Hello, everyone. This is Adriana from Mama More Dolls, and I am testing. I would like to see if anyone is there and can give us a heart or a like, or just say you're live. I can see myself. I don't know if you guys are there. Let's see. I'm going to try to go on my page and see if I can see. Yes, I can see Kim and I can see me. Okay, so hello. We have about 15 minutes to go today, and I wanted to welcome everyone and introduce Kim. Kim Erskine. Is that how you pronounce it, Kim?
Erskine, yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Kim is she's a mom. She's a blogger. She's a photographer. She is a celebrity on Instagram, and she's a lot of other things that I don't know how she does this. But today, Kim is here to talk about her experience breastfeeding while being a mom in the military, which I thought it was a really, really important thing to talk about, especially this month that we are actually having a breastfeeding month here on Mama More. And so during the month of January, we're going to be talking only about breastfeeding topics. And I am so thankful that today Kim is joining us. And welcome, Kim. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be talking with you today.
That's wonderful. First of all, I wanted to tell you that Kim and we met through my dolls. And believe it or not, she has lots of them, right?
I do.
So she actually,
right? We just counted. I have 8 now.
can you believe that? She has 8 of my dolls. And this is how we met. I'm not sure if it was Facebook or Instagram or one of the social media channels, but then she saw one of my dolls and she fell in love and she kept buying them. And I am so excited, so happy that you have all of them in there. And I think you have them there behind you, don't you?
I do. I was trying to find a good way to display them, but unfortunately, the angles and everything aren't working so great. But I have 8 of your beautiful dolls. There's 7 here, and I have 1 heading to my house soon since I just bought her. But
Yes.
I love them. They're gorgeous. I'm so excited to have met you and to be a part of like your collection and your work. And they're stunning. And I'm just really excited that they exist and that they're out there for people to learn and to enjoy. And they're one of my favorites.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kim. You know what? When I am rich and famous, those dolls are going to value lots of money. So you better keep them and love them for a long time because they are going to be they're going to be very valuable. They're going to be sold in auctions for thousands and thousands of dollars. Anyway, thank you again, Kim, for being here. Because we only have very little time and I'm trying to figure out this system. If looking here at the camera, looking here where I wanted to look at you, but if I'm just looking at the camera, but I'm looking at you too, okay? So you know.
They're good.
Yes, I just wanted to tell you again, this is breastfeeding month here at Mama More, and we're going to be talking about breastfeeding topics such as support, education, pumping, anything that related to breastfeeding. And today, as I said before, we're lucky to have Kim, and she is going to tell us a little bit of her story in terms of her journey through breastfeeding while being a mom in military, because she successfully accomplished breastfeeding while having such a demanding job. So first of all, Kim, I would like you to introduce yourself and honestly tell us all the things that you do and how do you ended up working for the military. It's a good story if you can tell us, please.
Okay, yeah, sure. There's a lot in that. So my name is Kim Erskine. I am an officer with the United States Air Force. I'm specifically, my career field is public affairs. That's not how I started out in the military, though. I was actually a missileer. And if you're not familiar with that, that essentially means I was a nuclear weapons operator. I was that for about 3.5 years, then cross-trained into public affairs. And what public affairs entails is telling the Air Force story. And all the military branches have public affairs officers, but we do everything from our own internal coverage, so doing stories, So articles, photographs, video products, but also working with the media, doing strategic communication to tell that story. So I love it. It's one of, I'm so glad that I'm in this career field. I'm enjoyed it immensely. And I'm looking forward to future challenges that come along with that. But that's kind of where I am right now.
And that was, you're so good at all of that. I can tell, not only for your work, but in general.
It's so much of my life because I do that so much with social media, and then I do that in my personal life too. So it's actually a really good fit. And I started in the military. I come from a pretty big military family. Most of my family members on my father's side are from the Navy. And when I was graduating high school and recruiters are calling you up, I had like no interest in joining the military whatsoever. And my dad had said, you really should talk to a recruiter. I think this would be a really good fit. But I was adamant that I was not going to do it. And then I went to the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and through the most interesting of circumstances, I was in a musical, and one of my friends in the musical was in the Air Force ROTC program. So that's an officer commissioning program in colleges.
Okay.
And he said, I think you'd be a really good fit. And I was like, oh my gosh, not again. Like, why are you trying to do this? And actually it was. I tried it out and I really liked it. I felt it gave me a lot of structure and organization in that transition from being a teenager into a young adult. So I stuck with the program, and then I commissioned as an officer in the Air Force. So that's where I am now.
Wow. So how long it's been since then, Kim?
I have been an Air Force officer. I'm just going to rotate it to make sure that my battery has been doing something goofy. I've been an Air Force officer for about 5.5 years.
5.5 years.
Yes.
That's a long time.
It is.
So, and so it seems that everything was written for you in your future. And in terms of all these clues that you had to go, you had to be part of it. So when it was time for you to have a baby, so tell me a little bit about your story. Were you worried about having a baby and doing this kind of job? So how was that journey for you?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I feel like that story is so long, so I'll try to give an abbreviated version.
Okay.
So in my last career field, I was a nuclear weapons operator, and what that career field looks like is that you actually go underground for 24 hours to do a nuclear weapons alert. So it's a rotation. You're doing shift work essentially. So you have there's times where you're out in the field for 24 hours. You're still driving back. You're away from your family. So when that career field kind of put a pause on like family plans because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I thought that being gone all the time would be very stressful. I've seen moms successfully do it who are missileers, who are just rock stars. But anything to put less stress on my family was my goal.
That's right.
At that time, I wanted to have family, but I wasn't sure how the timing would work out. And then towards the end of my missileer career, my husband and I decided that we would start trying to have a baby. And with my first baby, we got pregnant right away. We were so excited. And then I ended up having an ectopic pregnancy. And I think that experience helped cement to me how important it was to not necessarily let your schedule and life dictate everything, because I was just like, I thought I had planned it out perfectly, like this is a great time for us. We were in a really great place. So that helped tailor kind of how I looked at everything else. And so when we had Will, I was just so determined. I was so determined to have like a really good pregnancy. And, and I think I put a little bit of stress on myself with that because I wanted it to go like so well.
But you were taking care of yourself and you knew the road ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then so when I had Will, in my second trimester, was actually when I cross-trained. I moved from a northern tier base, so that was Montana. That's where I was previously stationed, to the Midwest. And I changed schedules completely. Instead of being a missileer doing shift work, I now have a normal 9 to 5 schedule. So those things actually helped significantly. That kind of fit more into what I was looking for.
That's right.
In terms of family balance and that dynamic. So yeah, that was great. That was going to help alleviate a lot of stuff. And what's really nice too is that am just a really research-oriented person, very proactive. So I had already looked into a lot of resources that the military provided. We have something, at least in the Air Force, I think the other branches do too, but we have something called the New Parent Support Program.
Okay. Oh.
Nurses will actually come to your house for whatever you need, whether that's like parenting tips or breastfeeding tips. And I actually got to meet, coincidentally, had a meeting with the New Parent Support Program for a group that I'm part of here. And I was talking to the nurses there, and it's just such an amazing resource to have.
Yes.
You can imagine as a new parent, especially I'll give the perspective as a new mom, like you're tired, you're figuring things out, and you have someone who comes to you who is non-judgmental. They don't care if you've got dishes in the sink. What they're worried about is making sure that you feel empowered to fit whatever goals that you have. So it's really, really nice because the nurse that I had, she would come over, I want to say once a week, maybe more than that, whenever, like, what we decided that together, what I deal with. And she would sit on the couch with me, and we would go over breastfeeding questions that I have and techniques and any concern that I had about developing a good relationship with breastfeeding. Like, she was there to answer it. And as you can imagine, not having to take your baby out, not having to do that secondary step of like getting everything together, then getting in the car, driving someplace, eliminating those factors and having them come to you was so nice. So if you're in the military, whether you're active duty, dependent, or have just access to those resources, I highly recommend the New Parent Support Program. They're wonderful. Yeah.
It sounds like you had a very good support to start, which is really important to have the support to start and know when it is time, and then it's too late sometimes. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think breastfeeding is such a personal choice, and it can be depending on the woman, depending on the baby. It can be challenging. For some people, I'm in a group here at Scott Air Force Base called Mom to Mom Scott. We're a chapter of Mom to Mom Global, and it's a breastfeeding support and advocacy group. But one thing that recently came up was a mom just had her third baby, and her breastfeeding relationship is completely different than her other two. Her first two kids, it was, easy for, relatively.
Yeah.
This one looked completely different. And that's the thing, breastfeeding can look completely different for each baby, and each baby presents different challenges and, positives when it comes to that breastfeeding relationship. So, just understanding that when you're going to that is like really important to have that support. And one of the things that I stress to all moms that I meet is that in breastfeeding being a personal choice, it's not all or nothing. Like the challenges that I had in mind, my relationship is that when we were exclusively breastfeeding and I was...
Oh, I think, okay, keep going. Yeah, I can hear you. Kim, I think you got cut off. There's one comment. Let's see what it says. The audio from Kim. Kim, your audio. I'm going to have to, I'm just going to have to tell, you cut off? I can't hear you. Your audio, it's gone. Sorry, I can't hear you. Let's see if I can write that for her. Your audio is off. People can hear me? Yeah, I see if I can. Oh no, Kim is gone. See if she can join us again. Such an interesting conversation. Let's see if we can get her. I'm just gonna tell her, Kim, your audio was off. See if she can come back. Let's see if she can see this comment, and then she can come back to us and continue the conversation. I hope she can. Oh, there she comes again. Let's see. I think I can see. Hi,
Are we
Kim.
good? Okay.
Yes,
Can you
your
hear me?
audio, it was completely gone.
I know
Gone,
your
gone, gone,
audio.
gone.
Yeah, your audio was gone too for me. So I was like, I'm just gonna restart it. So
Oh, thank you. That I don't know what I missed, but people are saying, please, please get her back. Get her the
okay.
audio. Yeah. Anyway, so it was, I think you were talking about, you just telling us about your breastfeeding challenges.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Sorry if I'm covering stuff over again. I don't know where it cut out. But so basically, when my son and I were together, we had an exclusively breastfeeding relationship. And so we had already mastered those first 6 challenging weeks. And then, and in case you don't know, the military branch has recently moved it from 6 weeks of maternity leave to 12, which is amazing. So
Oh,
so we had 12 weeks of maternity leave together. So we've
okay.
already gotten through those first 6 challenging weeks, and we had some amazing additional 6 weeks where we were just exclusively breastfeeding. But then when I introduced the pump,
Yeah.
that was a whole nother set of challenges because what people don't realize too is that the pump isn't a baby in the sense that a baby is so successful in extracting milk from the breast, so much more successful than a machine is. So
Yes.
when they see just a tiny amount of milk pumped out, it gets really frustrating and discouraging. But the thing is, like, your baby can do way better than that. So
Of
um,
course.
you try to explain to people that that pump isn't necessarily like a measure of what your body is able to do, and it's just building that up and getting used to it and doing your own research and finding support on what works best for you.
Yeah.
So, so our breastfeeding relationship, that was a major hiccup for us. So I pumped for a whole year, and I did not like it at all. But we were able to, but I would give him whatever I was able to pump. And then we would also supplement with formula just because my body had an average response to a pump, which a lot of women do. So I was not an overproducer. But at the same time, breastfeeding doesn't have to be all or nothing. Whereas, like,
Yes.
my son was still getting breast milk, and when we were home together, he would just breastfeed. So I wasn't pumping at home or doing anything like that. But one of the things that was like a defining factor for me and really cementing that idea of breastfeeding isn't necessarily all or nothing was the idea that he was getting some milk, that is, and he was still getting those benefits. But the very basics of breastfeeding and pumping are you need to extract more milk from the breast. So you have to continually empty the breast because that triggers your brain and your
Yeah.
hormones to make more. However, in order to do that at the rate that I probably needed to make as much milk as Will would have needed to not supplement, I would have been
Mm-hmm.
pumping throughout the night. And there was a point where I was doing that. I was pumping throughout the night. I was waking up doing those. And finally I'm like, this is the worst. Like I'm like, I'm tired. And speaking of demands of my job, I need to be functioning. I need to be like highly motivated and thinking and ready to go. So when there was a point where I just decided, I'm like, I'm not going to pump throughout the night, and he's still going to get breast milk, and we're still going to nurse together, and that's
Yeah.
going to be okay. And it works though. So he's over a year old. He is 16 months old, and he still nurses with me. So had I given
Wow.
up on that and decided like my body, like pumping is still the worst, but had I given up and said like pumping isn't worth it or whatever, we wouldn't be at the place where we are now. He still nurses whenever we're together. And for example, if we were on a week of vacation, I didn't pump. We just nursed. And it like my body just adjusted to that. And so the human body is an amazing thing, but don't be one of those things that I tell moms all the time, like, don't be hard on yourself. It doesn't have
Yeah.
to be all or nothing. Just try. And in my opinion, you have to make that goal for yourself. Like, don't say I'm doing this for my baby, because if you're looking for that everything is perfect relationship, that is so much stress to put on yourself. And
Yes.
I'm like, and you don't want to do that. Like, that's counterproductive. You're still doing a great job as a parent. Don't knock yourself on that. Do your best. That's all you can do.
That's wonderful. I was just going to ask you what it seems like you had a successful story and still having a successful story. And
Yep.
I just wanted to ask you how, like, what would you tell a mom who is thinking about starting a family and thinking about breastfeeding, and has a job like yours? Do you have a couple of tips aside from what you already said in terms of being hopeful and being strong and finding support and all of those little things that you already went through?
I think one of the things to start off with is set your expectations and figure out what goals you'd like to do.
Yeah.
Because breastfeeding can be challenging for some women, and it looks different for every single person.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind, like whenever you're going through things. And with that, start doing your own research. Put yourself into supportive circles and communities. With military groups, we have Mom to Mom Global and then our subsequent chapters. And what's really great about those groups versus just any other Facebook group out there or anything like that is that you have fact-based information. And I can't stress that enough, because there are so many times when I was first starting out my breastfeeding journey and, the weeds of it and trying to figure it out. People give you information because they found it helpful, and it doesn't actually stick to that premise of extracting more milk from the breast. Like breastfeeding, when it comes down to it, it is that basic of equation. You have to take more milk from the breast in order for your brain to tell your body to make more. And it's just that cycle over and over and over again.
That's right.
That's in the basics. Like, that's not counting anyone who has like a hormonal issue or some other factors, but that's just like that. However, people would tell me like, oh, you just need to drink blue Gatorade, eat Oreos, like eat more oatmeal cookies and things like that. And that's not necessarily true. Like, if you want to have, what we always say is, if you want to have a cookie, eat the cookie. But that doesn't necessarily mean like that oatmeal doesn't necessarily equate to more of a milk supply. And you really have to go down to the basics. And sometimes milk boosters, they might help if you're under stress in a very temporary situation, but you have to underline it's just temporary. It's just a temporary fix. So there's that. So surrounding yourself in supportive communities with fact-based information, just because otherwise you're going to go down a rabbit trail of blue Gatorades and Oreo cookies. And I've been down on that rabbit trail, and it's not helpful, and it will ingrain in your mind that you're doing something wrong, and you might not be. You're just getting wrong information. So fact-based information, supportive communities. One thing that a lot of moms don't know is that pediatricians don't necessarily get a lot in terms of lactation education. So, so when you go to your pediatrician, especially like in that first 3 days after you had a baby, your Billy Rubin appointment, and they are saying, oh, well, you need to supplement with formula, that might not necessarily be the case.
So perhaps finding another care provider, maybe a lactation consultant or consulting, maybe laterally, or just trying to find other options as well, and not just one, right? That's what you're saying.
Absolutely, yes. So pediatricians are great. They're a phenomenal source of information, and we know great pediatricians. But almost every single pediatrician that I've met has such limited education when it comes to nursing and lactation stuff. I've seen the full gambit of people. Of a pediatrician saying that I should be feeling a letdown, which is another thing. I never felt a letdown throughout my whole nursing relationship. So that's another thing where, excuse me, that triggers you to think like something's wrong with me. Like, if I'm not feeling and it's not all women do. I've seen another pediatrician tell a new mom like, oh, well, just add fenugreek to your diet. And this is a doctor who's not her doctor, her child's doctor, telling her that she needs to ingest something, which is not good information. So with anything, ingesting, just a side note, anything, you really need to talk to your doctor about that, not someone else's doctor to tell you. That doesn't make any sense. So it's things like that. So understanding that when you go in, and then, okay, so if your pediatrician doesn't have that lactation background, then finding good people who are. And one thing that I didn't realize until later on in my breastfeeding relationship is that there's different levels of lactation consultants. So my favorite is an IBCLC, which is Internationally Board Certified Lactation Consultant. And those are the folks who are taking tests, that like in-person tests where people are watching how they identify issues, how they solve it. These are people with oftentimes with nursing backgrounds that have like the medical background to help with that. And I say that and kind of differentiate between an IBCLC versus an LC or CLC. Just because I've seen LCs who have given incorrect information. I was in the hospital and you don't necessarily know what an LC, just the regular LC, has in terms of his or her background. That could have been an afternoon training where they got a certificate versus someone who's been studying for months to get the certification to be an
Yeah.
IBCLC. Not for years, I'm not even sure how long, but they're like the best of the best. So just understanding that information, not being afraid to get second opinions, and looking for those facts, because yeah, you want someone who's invested in helping you figure out ways to overcome your specific challenges, because every baby and every person's different.
It's different. Yeah. Kim, you are a huge source of information, and we would like to talk to you for like ages.
Yeah.
So we're gonna, before we go, we're just gonna leave a little link for where people can find you, especially those moms are going into parenting and then breastfeeding, and it seems like you definitely did your research, which is fantastic. And thank you so much for sharing this with us.
Oh, absolutely.
Before we finish this, I wanted to ask you, this is, you are a visionary woman. I just wanted to ask you about what is your vision in terms of birth and breastfeeding that you told me before, and I wanted you to share with us because I thought it was fantastic. So can you tell us a little bit of that before we go?
Yeah. So with my own experiences in postpartum care, I think one of the things that, out of all the research I had done, whether I was pregnant, whether I was looking to breastfeeding, when I moved into that postpartum time, I couldn't even wrap my head around how difficult that postpartum time can be. And one of the things that really resonated with me is military families who are going through this, who are often away from their supportive circles. Like, they're gone from their families. They're probably in a place. When I had my son, I was only on my duty station for probably like 4 months. So I barely knew anyone here. So you're in the thick of it, the weeds of being a new parent, and you don't know anyone, and you don't know like resources necessarily, and you're still trying to figure that out. So from that experience, it made me realize how much we need to, as a healthcare system in general, in my opinion, we really need to support new families or people who are just have a new baby, because that can be such a challenging time. So my goal is to create, with emphasis on the postpartum care, but like birth centers and care centers for families, and hopefully tailoring to military families, where they can go there, just like an all-inclusive center. So you can go there in your prenatal care. You'd find midwives, OBs there, but you'd be able to do everything from learning about breastfeeding. So you take breastfeeding courses there, taking labor and delivery courses, like in terms of how you want to do your birth plan and what your options are, taking postpartum care classes, and even anything from like fun stuff like prenatal yoga to learning about birth photographers there. Like, I want it to be just this amazing place where when you are a brand new parent and you are in the forest and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, you can go to that one place and know that you're going to have support, that you're going to be well fed, that people are going to take care of you, and you're going to find the things that you need. So that's what the dream. I don't know.
It sounds like the all-inclusive of the birth or something, and breastfeeding. It's like everything is in one place.
I mean, I think I would love to see it where a mom could transition from being in labor delivery into a home style suite with her family, or however she wants that to look. Like, that's her choice. But then be able to spend a week or 2 weeks or however long, I'm not sure, but and really establish the start of a breastfeeding relationship accurately. So if she's feeling pain, then someone is right there to help troubleshoot, versus like, I don't know what's wrong. This is really difficult. This is challenging, and she's most likely to fit her goals then if she's in an environment that are meeting those needs.
Wow. I look forward to seeing that place. And also, it will have lots of dolls. That's why you're collecting them.
Yeah. I mean, my baby steps started to become a doula. I just got, I received some grants and scholarships to become a certified lactation consultant.
So, wow.
So baby steps, becoming a lactation consultant, then a doula, and all those different things. And then one day, the center, maybe. We'll see.
Wow, that's so like fantastic. I think it's a fantastic idea, and I really look forward. And I know you're going to do it. You're very strong. You are a visionary, and that's going to happen for you. And I'm so glad. And I'm so glad that you will have my dolls in there for you, which I really appreciate. Anyway, Kim, we got to go right now. but I really very much for your time. When we're all done this, I will write a link so people can get a hold of you. But can you tell us very quickly where people can find you?
Yeah, find me on Instagram. You can find me at Kimberly Erskine. She'll provide the link. I think it's a lot easier than me spelling it out. But if
I
you go
will.
there, if you go there and hit the link, it's a link tree. So you'll see everything from my blog to my Facebook to photography work that I do, all sorts of different things. So you can find all of my social media accounts there.
Wonderful. I will do that after we finish here. And thank you so much. I'm going to bring you back again in a little bit to talk about other topics
Yeah.
eventually. But thank you so much and enjoy your time off today. And all the best in 2019 with all those baby steps.
Yeah, absolutely. Same to you.
Oh,
Thank you so much. This was fun.
wonderful. Thank you very much. You take care. We'll see you soon. Bye bye.
Bye.